So the first thing you need to do, if you're working with a partner, you're going to switch roles. And if you're working by yourself, then that's fine. Just put your name in both of those positions. And then you're going to download your hex file, and this will show you how to import it, which we've already done. And I know you already know how to do, but if you wanted a refresher, you could look at how to import. And then we're going to go over here, and it tells you all of the supplies that you need. So it sort of gives you the picture of what you need to connect, and you can see that I've highlighted, so that way it's easier for me later on when I'm trying to build it. And I'm going to show you after we fill this out how I put it together. So then it asks us what happens when we press the A button on the emulator. So we're looking over here, and this is the code that I've downloaded. And so when button A is pressed, I can see it's going to repeat 4 times everything that's inside this green loop. And it's going to write to pin 0, a 1, which will turn it on, and then it's going to pause, and then it's going to write to pin 0 a 0, which will turn it off. It's then going to turn on pin 1, and then it's going to pause. It's going to turn off pin 1 and turn on pin 2, and then it's going to pause, and then it's going to turn off pin 2, and then it's going to repeat, and that's what should happen. So I'm going to bring this up to double check, make sure that I read the code right. I always like to read the code just because I'm practicing, right? I want to make sure that I get good at it. So I'm going to press A, and you can see, and it's doing that 0.3 of a second. It's pretty fast, but yes, it went through. And if I wanted, I could slow it down if I wanted to review the code in another fashion. But I'm just going to close that now, and I'm going to type here my answer. So I typed that pin 0 turns on for 30 seconds, and then it's turned off, and then pin 1 is turned on, and then it's turned off, and pin 2 is turned on. So, and it repeats 4 times. You could say the lights will, that pin 0 is highlighted in red. So you can see, like when I ran through this, let me press A again, so you can say it turns red. So you can say that if you would like, whatever you want to say. And the next one says, what do you observe besides pins 0, 1, 2 on the emulator? So I observe these numbers next to the pins. And so I'm going to put that in my answer box. Now you could also add in that it turned red. If you wanted to do that, that would be completely fine, because that's something else that I observed. And then it says to download the code onto the microbit, which I have done. And then it wants me to press the A on my microbit and say what happens. And so in order to do that, I have to build. So I'm going to scroll back to remind you of what it was we were supposed to be building. And we don't necessarily have every single thing that they are looking for, so we have to sort of use our minds and say, like, okay, we can make things a little differently if we don't have exactly what it's needed. So I know most of you have that conductive thread, but if you don't, I'm using aluminum foil. You could also use the copper wire if you wanted. So there's other things that you can use to wrap around the cords. So I'm using 4 alligator clips that have both ends are alligator. And for the other side, I'm using 3 that have alligator clips on one side, and on the other side, it has those male pins on the other side. So that's what I'm going to be using. And so I can use this as a guide. So what's happening on the left here is, let's see, we have 1 alligator clip. So these 4 up here that are all connected to the microbit, these are the ones that are alligator clips on both sides. So we have to plug into each of the pins. So we need pin 0, pin 1, and pin 2. And then that's going to go down here, and it's really important to plug those into the positive side. So if you look over on this side, you can see here is one side. Let me get it so it's not blurry, but you can see that there's a plus on one side. I guess that's still a little blurry. Plus over there, and there's a minus on this side. And on the back, you can kind of, let's see if I can see it on the back. Yep, on the back, I can see there's a little plus there too. So they have it in both places. I sometimes have to use my camera because I can't see very well, but I'm going to make sure I'm going to skip every other one. So I'm going to put one on the outside, in the middle, and on the end. So I'm not going to use all of them. And I'm going to plug the items that are in the pins. So I'm going to take my double alligator wires first. I'm going to use that first. So I'm going to just put yellow. And the illustration that they give uses red for one of the pins, and I don't really like doing that because I think red should be used for power. So I'm going to plug one in. on one side, and I'm going to take this cord, and I have to make sure I put it on the plus side. So just like when we did the regular small LEDs, if we didn't plug it in on the right side, nothing happened, right? So we have to make sure we plug it in correctly. And then I'm going to do, let's see, my white one is free, and it's really easy to get your cords tangled. I'm sure you guys are much neater than me. And let's see if I got a good attachment. So that is now attached, and I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to plug it into the next end of this. So that's clamped on. You can see this one's like falling off, so I might have to reclamp it. So sometimes the wires move. So your first instinct, if it's not working, is to check your connections. So then my next one is pin 2. Got that attached. Got the other end of the alligator clip, and I'm going to put it in the bottom. Okay, so now all 3 of those are attached. Now the next one, double alligator clip. First we plug it into the ground, so I'm going to put it into ground. Now I have already downloaded the code onto this microbit, so this microbit has the correct code on it. You guys already know how to do that. You have had a lot of practice with that, so I'm not going to show you how to do that. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 3 other wires, and I'm just going to plug them into the negative side. They happen to be able to sort of match colors, even though this wire has 2 colors on it. Oh, let me see. I'll put this one with the green, since it has a green wire. And not that it matters, it just helps me with tracing a little bit. And I have my white one. Okay, so now that I have those all attached. Yikes. Oh, that one slipped off. I hate when that happens. I have to clip it onto something. Fixed it. Okay. So now I have the negatives all attached. And so I have these 3 separate pins. And I need to connect them. So if we had more alligator clips, it would be easier to connect them because you could clip them all in. And I don't have more alligator clips. I only have 1 alligator clip. So I've taken my aluminum foil and I folded it up. I'm going to try and fit these into the aluminum foil and so just sort of like hold them in together because I want the connection to wrap around all of them. I'm going to put this one on top because I'm just going to sort of like smush them all. I want them all touching the aluminum foil. I'm going to fold it down this way. So this is going to be a really nice close touch. And all of them, whoops, except this one is not. Oh man, I got them all to come out. That is not what I wanted to have happen. Yikes. It's obviously easier if you have all the right materials, but it is not impossible. Okay. So I'm going to try and wrap this up nice. Sort of smush it in together. Because then I'm going to take the other end. They all fell out again. I might need a new piece of aluminum. We'll try it one more time. And we'll see if this works. And I'm trying to clip it so that all of them are in there. So the aluminum foil is connecting all of them. And that's clamped on. Okay, so everything looks connected to me. I'm going to press A and I'm going to see if on this, if it works, I should see the lights moving. And I should flip it this way so you can see the lights. Then I should see the lights moving, turning on one at a time. So here we go. And so since the yellow one is plugged into pin 0, we'll do it again. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, and it goes faster than I can count, but it is going through. So now we need to enter what happens on the microbit when button A is pressed. Well, I would say that the lights light up. So you guys can certainly talk about how they light up one at a time. And then it says make some coding changes. And so they give us some additions for what we could do. So the pause is 3/10 of a second. It's reminding us that 1,000, so 300 is 3/10 of a second. And they're saying, so if we need to have 1,000, if we want it to be 1 second. And so they suggest either changing which button begins the program, substituting a repeating loop, or modifying the duration of the pause. So these are some of the changes that you can make. So whatever you want to do. So if I want to switch the button, Then I can switch it to A plus B or just B. Maybe I'm going to duplicate this whole thing and move it over. It's shaded like that because I can't have button A doing two separate things. So maybe I switch it to button B, and maybe button B, I'll have a longer pause. I'll have it be a full second. And maybe, so you can sort of switch, you can make all sorts of changes. Maybe you can make a different pattern. So maybe instead of starting with pin 0, maybe I want to start with pin 2, and then I'll turn off pin 2. And then I'll do pin 1, and then this will be pin 0. And this will be pin 0. So I've just made some changes, and then I'm going to download the code and see if it works. So let me just do it here. We're going to run through the code. So now if I press button B, I should see longer pauses. Yep. And it's going backwards, which is exactly what I wanted. And then I kept the code for button A. So I kept that on. So I've done a couple of things. I didn't substitute a repeat loop. So maybe you guys want to do that. So whatever you want to do, so make some changes. And then when you're done with the changes and you've tested and you've seen that it works, then what you're going to do is you're going to publish your code. So this is the share link. Remember, it goes from one person to multiple. So I'm going to click on that, and it's already named. So that's great. I'm going to click publish. You can put your name on it. It's probably a good idea to put your name on it. Publish it. I'm going to copy that link, and I'm going to paste my code in, and I'm going to hit the space bar after pasting so it turns to a hyperlink. I'm going to describe what happens on my microbit, and then it asks me, so, what changes did I make and what could I use this LED board for? So it's getting us to think about like how we could use this, like how might this be useful in things that we could possibly build. So anytime that you've seen multiple LEDs light up, you could use it for that. So you can just sort of put in what you could use this particular device for, and then you can click your turn in button, and you will be done with this assignment.